It's the Grapevine Show, baby. And I'm the only one here? What is going on?
What up, guys?
Thought about just leaving you in there tonight, just
Dude,
all by yourself.
Get that
All right,
heart
man.
fluttering, man.
What up, everybody?
What's going
Coming to you
on?
live again.
Let's do introductions. Welcome to the Grapevine Show.
Introductions, dude. Your internet's so laggy tonight.
I know. All right, you do
Laggy
the
Larry.
You do
All right.
the introduction.
So for anybody new at the show, I'm Eric Kaiser. To my over here, that's Chris Hughes in the hotel room, and the man behind the shades is Mr. Mike Cianfrocco, and we are the
What's up,
HVAC
guys?
Grapevine. So, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome to the show tonight. We don't have any special guests. We got traveling Chris. He's on the road. So
Soaking up the knowledge and bringing it to the table, man. That's what this is all about. So
we get to pick Chris's brain in between internet lags because he's on that great hotel Wi-Fi that always works.
yeah. Well, you know
great, baby.
They charge you $12.95, but then I guess maybe I'm like an elite membership status, so I get credited back at the end of my stay. So you know what I'm saying? All these perks keep coming. You know what I mean?
Is that because you spend so much time on the road and in their hotel rooms that they finally give you free Wi-Fi?
That's it, man. They're like, they look at me and they go, "Now this guy is a valued customer, right? Give him the free Wi-Fi. He needs it. He's important." Wait, well, don't upgrade him to the room with double windows. He's not quite to that level, but free Wi-Fi, it's a must. He
Starbucks doesn't give that to you.
Yeah, so my internet may go kind of up and down. It was actually cutting out pretty good just a minute ago. So we'll see how this goes.
It was cutting out pretty good.
Going good now.
So what's going on with you guys this week? Besides, Chris is on the road. We know that. Michael, what's going on with you, buddy?
Oh man. I got my swim spot coming tomorrow, baby.
Oh man.
Tell us about this electrical destroying the grid. Very expensive.
I want to see what kind of dehumidification he's going to have to run if he's going to put that thing in his living room.
I'm sucking the grid down with this thing, man.
Everybody's on this like decarbonizing thing, and Michael's like, I bet I could get a 50 amp plug over here to this pool, and that would be awesome.
Dude, it takes a 50 amp 6 gauge and a 60 amp with a 6 gauge wire too. Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
And you know what?
Running electric heat.
No, he's in Florida. He's got to cool that thing all year long.
Yeah, right.
It gets too hot to swim in. They have to turn it on the other way and pump the heat out of the water.
Bro, I think you could have almost came out cheaper just like buying a residential heat pump and, get one of those pool heat pumps and hooking it to that thing and ran it off
they have
a 30
them, dude.
service. Yeah, I know.
Don't y'all have like
some of the high end ones? Yeah, they got heat pumps.
Don't y'all have an ocean down there to swim in all the time?
Oh yeah, there's crocodiles and alligators in there.
In the ocean?
In the ocean, bro.
Really?
Oh man.
Yep.
Mike, is this like? Did you pour a pad to get this thing set down on? What's the story here, man?
6 inches deep concrete rebar, the whole thing, man.
Jeez.
I got a crane coming tomorrow. Is going to drop it right over, hopefully over the house and on the pad.
Dang.
I'm excited, man.
So in the house is always an option?
Yeah.
Until it's on the pad.
Billionaire.
In the house.
Oh, yeah. I had an AC customer like that. They complaining about humidity issues. So I was like, well, you do have a pool in the house. Let's start there.
Drain the water right out of that pool. Humidity problem solved.
Are you like, when you get to that level of knowing your stuff well enough to where you know that the pool is the problem, do you just have this problem of having that? I could imagine seeing you having this conversation in the pool room, and the
Yeah.
whole time he's talking, your eyes are just going
Yeah.
like, "There's a pool here."
And a huge exhaust vent. It's dude, and plants in there that where they dug the concrete up and they put, they they dug down to the soil, bro. So it's basically exposed to moisture.
Yeah, man.
They
Yeah,
Absolutely
dug down
blew
to
my
the
mind.
soil.
nothing like a whole lot of exhaust and just no vapor
Yeah.
barrier and sucking straight
No
from
vapor
the
barrier.
ground, man. Just
Yeah,
bring
amazing.
it all in.
I just want to go back there and bring a mic and just like tour the place, just put it on the show. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would.
It's a
Nice.
trip. Yeah, we see some stuff down here.
Yeah.
Some
Hey,
crazy stuff.
I'll tell you some stuff I've seen while on the road. So my hotel room has these two little pop-out vents that come out of the wall, right? And I thought that they were both exhaust. Oh, look, Eric showed it for me. There we go. So like the one on the left and the one on the right, the one on the right's obviously in the bathroom, right? Tile all the way up.
Mhm.
And I could barely feel anything, if nothing at all. And I'm like, man, is this hotel room even removing moisture? I don't know. So I took my DG8 because I travel with it, and I was like, well, let me just throw a tube in there and see what's going on. And I've got a pressure drop across that grill face. So I'm like, okay, we're moving something. I don't know the flow, but I do know how much I know this thing's removing air. But on the other side of the wall in my bedroom, now I mind you, the rooms are connected, right? There's a hallway, the doors are open. So I know that the baseline is the same on both measurements. But the other measurement on the left is on the room side, and it's reading positive pressure. And for a minute, I'm thinking, dude, that's nasty. Like, am I getting other people's exhaust cross ventilating, blowing into mine? I didn't think about it right at first. And then I said, oh, wait a minute. It's balanced ventilation, bro. And
Can
then
you got the little ice, the little where you go in a hallway, grab the ice. You got that bag. You put that bag up there, man. Do
yeah.
a time average for me.
Yeah. See how fast it
Come
fills that bag up.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Get that
So-
ice bag.
So this is interesting. So here's the one statement I want to point out that's kind of interesting with these two measurements. I can prove that in my room, this is a valid statement in my room, because the grills are the same, basically, that I'm getting more supply ventilation than exhaust in my hotel room.
Yeah.
So essentially means my room should be positive,
A
right?
little positive pressure. Yeah.
So, which means I can't definitely say this about the whole hotel, but there's a good possibility that the what's the word I'm looking for? HRV or whatever they're using for balanced ventilation on the roof is probably dialed in for customer comfort, meaning it's bringing in more supply than exhaust, and it's not improperly set to where the exhaust is overpowering the supply,
You think
which
they're
is a good thing.
you think they're using an ERV or an ERV up there?
Oh yeah, man, this hotel is huge,
Yeah.
like super big.
So did you throw that hose under the door and see if you were if your room is positive to the hallway at least?
No, should I?
Well, I think you
All
should
right.
in the name of
I'll be right
science.
Yeah.
We're going
Did you see them
live.
swim trunks on them?
DOAS units feeding into the space. Yeah, see that's my thought.
Yeah. We wish
It's a
we had
DOAS
some
unit.
DOAS.
It's not a it's probably not an ERV is my guess, but it may have a heat wheel in it. You never know.
Dude, let me tell you something. That's Florida, baby.
Hey.
That's just a big squirrel cage on top of the roof,
Dumping
Just
some hot humid air. in
blowing
there.
that hot, humid air. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So my I don't think I've ever seen a hotel room with balanced ventilation in it like this. So this is
So-
it's kind of interesting to me. But I love the paint peeling off the ceiling right above the intake vent or the incoming air vent.
That's all that humid air, baby.
It's classic.
So status update, man. The room is positive, which
Oh.
makes sense. We're
Interesting. So
just less than a Pascal, but we're positive. So we're barely positive due to the situation of the grills that I'm able to pull off with my DG8.
now
just-
what about to the outside? Can you put it out the window and
No, man, my window's sealed, and I'm in my bathing suit because I was going to hit the pool. But because we got to do the show, I'm missing out on my pool time, and I'm just not going to pull that card in my bathing suit. You know,
Look
what I
at
mean?
look at Will on here. He knows what's going on.
Yeah, Will's here, bro.
Oh,
Will's
is
here.
he? Nice.
Yeah, me and Will hung out
Nice.
and watched LSU get stomped today. If you're not following the World Series, today was not a good day for LSU fans. Probably one of the worst games I've ever seen. And I'm pretty sure there's a new record for how many runs were scored against a team in the World Series.
So this is College World Series?
College World Series,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Foosball?
Last game's tomorrow, man. It's gonna be a good game though. I hope
Nice.
it's gonna good. Most of the games have come down to like they've been like 0-0 or 3-3, right? And they've been closing them out into extra innings. Not today, but most of them have been like that. And yeah. So the next game is gonna be pretty wild to watch. So
Cool.
Tampa, man, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing on the road here? Fill us
He's
in.
all
Okay,
like
so-
hush hush.
So
to the two of
No
us and all
kiss and
5 of
tell?
the people watching right now.
I am here at an ASHRAE meeting. So this is their summer conference. So this is where all the top minds meet and they discuss things. I'm very new to this arena, very new. And I'll be honest, it's intimidating. Actually, me and Will were talking about this today. We were talking about over the ball game. I was explaining to Will, I'm like, man, ASHRAE for me is intimidating. Like, and this is self-imposed, but I don't feel it to be very welcoming to me. And I would love to see more technicians at ASHRAE like me that I could converse with and talk and maybe go to meetings. But I'll be honest, it's self-imposed because the meetings have a lot of top minds, a lot of good engineers, and they're talking next level talk. But what they do know is they very much know the cadence of the meetings and that it's very, very structured. And I don't know that very well. So when you sit in these meetings, you basically, like, I don't say a lot because I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to break into a meeting. So I just kind of, and me and Will were talking about this and we're trying to like maybe shed some light on this because here's what I would say. I definitely believe that, there's technicians in the world that could bring a lot of value to the ASHRAE committees because, you've got probably your design engineers, et cetera, that make up these committees. But how many people work on this stuff daily and deal with the nuances of everything or see the industry trends from all the manufacturers at the same time? That's us. That's what techs do. And who's bringing that back to the ASHRAE committee meetings? And I think nobody's doing that. So they're not getting any of that feedback. I think that feedback's pretty powerful.
I would tend to agree with
Asking
you,
for a friend, what's ASHRAE all about?
Oh, man.
So
Books,
ASHRAE is the
standards?
American Society of Heating and Refrigeration Engineers, I believe is the term for ASHRAE. It's ASHRAE.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that like write a lot of the engineering and the design standards.
Yeah.
For the
Contractor
HVAC
books and
systems.
stuff.
Just to give you a little bit, so what I've learned from Will since we've been hanging out is, so the way to get involved, if you want to get involved, is to sign up for ASHRAE. It'll cost you $240. That's just part of it. You'll pay a chapter due, which is like $50, and you'll join the local chapter committee in your area. There's like chapters everywhere, and I don't mean United States. This is like worldwide, right?
So it's like the Elks Lodge.
That's right. It's like the Elks Lodge. And
less partying, more math.
Yeah. But he did tell me,
Gotta have brisket.
if you have an active chapter, they will bring in a lot of top talent to come in to talk and do keynote speakers. And I bet their speakers and their chapters are pretty awesome. So I joined. I want to try to see who, the speakers are going to be in my area, which would be New Orleans, and I actually met a guy who works for a big company here. He was telling me that New Orleans is very active and they get a lot of good speakers. So I'm going to go try to run that out and see what I can learn.
Nice.
But I did learn some stuff while I was here.
So that's real quick, Will. I'm assuming that's worldwide, 78,000 members. So
That's more people than my town.
Yeah.
Damn.
More people than a lot of towns in this country.
Here's what I'm going to say too,
in the
man.
world.
If you're thinking about joining, you should reach out to Will. So I probably just put a lot of stress on Will,
Will Speed.
but he's the guy.
Dude,
Will,
there's only 8 people watching right now.
yeah, but this is just going to get shared, man, over and over and over. I mean, before we die, 100 years from now, this is going to be at least 250 views. And
I mean,
those 250 people are going to be going to
Mhm.
Will, right?
So, like, if you want to join, you can just go online to ASHRAE and join through their website.
You got to
Yes.
watch this video first, though.
Yes.
But that's something you can do to join ASHRAE. And I mean, this was a thing I brought up recently, in something similar is in a presentation I gave to a local group, actually the local community action agency group in Indiana. And I was talking about a standard, specifically of the BPI 1200 standard, because they do a lot of house testing. And one of the things I told them, and I've encouraged other people to do it, is get involved in these standards, in this kind of stuff, and bring feedback, real feedback from the field. Especially if it's a standard that's an ANSI standard, it has to be reviewed every 5 years. It has to go through a review process, and it has to be redone periodically.
Yeah, I
which
think
is
it's
the
a
whole point of it. So
maybe a 3-year cycle. I could be wrong about
5
that.
years on ANSI.
Is it 5? Okay.
Yeah. The ANSI standards are 5. But don't be afraid to speak up. All of the ACCA stuff is ANSI standards, so they have to be refreshed periodically. They have to go through, either affirm that the standard is working as it's supposed to every 5 years. They have to go through a refresh cycle where certain things get changed. They go through a review process of the whole standard. Necessary things get changed, or they have to pull the standard off of being listed. So it's pretty much, just like what Will's saying here, it's nonstop work, and it's always going through cycles. And especially these organizations that have a lot of different standards under them, there's always a standard being worked on. Somebody's always working on it.
Yeah.
And if you think you've got valuable information, bring it to that organization, figure out how to get involved with that standards committee, and speak up, but come with good information. You need to come with some data. And one of the things that I hear a lot of people is just, oh, this is dumb. Well, there's a reason for these standards. And that reason is trying to get people to do things in a good practice, and standards are minimums. But the other reason is it becomes easy to troubleshoot it. If you have a problem, you can step your way backwards through the process, and you can say, if everything was done to this minimum standard, now I can figure out where a problem is.
Yes.
Chris, what standard did you guys just work on with the Avengers? What was that again?
Oh, the video you put out on 310.
I'm sitting there thinking, like, when you say Avengers, do you mean like me and Steve? And I'm thinking,
Yeah,
is he talking about that group
Wes
of
from
Avengers?
ACCA, bro.
Oh yeah, that's the
Dustin,
that's the standard 310 video. by the
Dustin
way.
Bleep and Cole.
If you haven't seen that video, you should go check it out. All you have to do is go to YouTube, type in standard 310. It will be the only video on state 310. Hence why we made a video, right?
Yeah.
But it's the practical workflow for that standard. So, yeah.
And that was backed by it was ACCA standard, or yeah.
Well, it's the ResNet, ACCA, ANSI standard 310. That's the organization. Like basically ACCA and ResNet together jointly worked on the standard, and then they push it to ANSI for ANSI approval. ANSI is the huge governing body that kind of like they're the gate holders between something going to that level of certification.
Okay. So ANSI doesn't worry super much about the content. The content is the responsibility of ACCA and ResNet. ANSI is looking for the process. Like, they have a standard, which is a process of developing standards and keeping them current.
And
So-
ANSY's doing like way more than HVAC, man. I mean, like
Oh.
if you want to make a tube of toothpaste and then sell it, and you want to get it like ANSI approved, I mean, terrible analogy, but funny, right? You could basically push that through ANSI if you got the money to do it, I guess is how that works. But
it's
Yeah.
it's time. It's not so much money to get it into ANSI, it's time and it's following their procedure.
yep.
Right now,
So-
you do have, it does cost some for them to review everything, but they do have some very strict procedures that you have to follow in order to get it as an ANSI approved standard. And the reason for that is because that's the minimum amount of work that you have to do to make that a robust standard. But they're
Yeah,
not going to come in and check all your math and do all that stuff. That's not what they do.
Right.
All they do is make sure you did the work correctly in the right steps.
That 310 standard is pretty thick, though, man. I don't know. That's not. I wouldn't consider that to be a minimum.
No,
Well,
but that's what it is. That is a
Yeah.
minimum standard.
That's
It
true.
is- it is
You got
thick,
to
man.
you got to set
It
the
is-
bar.
It is thick, and that's the thing, dude. It's like it's how you deliver the content to the world, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is what I'm talking about by like people like us need to get involved because yeah, if I read the standard 310 to the letter, I'm going to be overwhelmed because it's how the information is presented to me. But if I watch the video that we made, I'd be like, oh, okay.
It's
I
exciting.
I get what you want me to do. Yeah, there's some flair there, right? It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm down with that.
Yep.
And like Steve says right here, math and the general information gets scrutinized first by the review committee and then when it goes into public review, because anything out there that goes through an ANSI process has to go out for public review before it can actually be published. And
Yeah.
that committee has to respond to
To every
every
comment.
single public comment.
Right.
If
Yep.
somebody makes a comment, they have to respond to that. That is part of the ANSI process, which forces them, that committee that's putting up that standard, to pay attention to those public comments so that everybody that's using it has a say-so and has some voice if you want to, because it doesn't cost anything to comment publicly on any of these standards.
Yeah.
But it can force the committee to change their mind. I mean, I got lucky enough to sit on a committee and still am on a committee that's reviewing a standard right now and rewriting parts of it. So I've gotten on the backside of that process was I thought it was really cool because there was so many things that happened that I didn't realize. You know, I was a user out here reading this stuff going, why is all this written this way? But when you get into this, in the inside of it and trying to write a universal standard for many, many, many people to use across many, many different environments,
Yeah.
becomes very challenging.
Yeah.
True. I mean, it's not just for, the US. This is everywhere, man. Every people in Dubai are probably buying the standard and paying attention to it. So you got to think about everything.
This is very important too, is the language in those standards can be crazy sometimes, but it's necessary as part of the standards.
Yeah.
for clear communication.
So here's the downer part. And I'll be honest with you. This is the part that's tough to sit through. Like coming from the field where everything's like 90 miles an hour, right? And decisions we make, let's just say for a commercial building or a homeowner, it's such a, I'm not going to say, I don't want to downplay and say small decision, but for a standard that people are going to like hold this committee responsible for worldwide, they will grill down to the letter of the words in the standard to the point you're like, I've seen you write this three different ways. And I personally, it's great every which way you wrote it. Like just pick one and go with it. Right. And you're going to send it out for public review anyway, and they may nix it, but they will spend 2 hours deciding on how they're going to word something just so they try to make sure it gets through and there's not a flaw in the wording. So there's a lot of time spent where you're kind of over there where you could, I don't know.
Working through that legalese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even so much legalese. It's just trying to make sure that the intent of the committee when they write the standard is accurately communicated and can be understood by the user.
Well,
Right.
here's a good point. So what I've learned, because I'm new to this, but what I'm learning is there is standards that are method of test standards. So like if you want to test filters, well, there's a committee that says, if you're going to test a filter, this is how you should test a filter, right? You can do what you want, but if you want our approval, this is how you test. A method of test isn't going to basically have a bias to it, right? It's just a method of test. So wording in that
Right.
is one way. But then there's another way where they kind of write standards on how you would do something, and that'd be method of application standards. And that standards like, if you are going to do this, this is how you should do this on site, right?
Yeah.
And basically, so they're not just writing standards for, say, contractors to follow. They're also writing standards for manufacturers to follow. So they know how to test things in their laboratory, which one of the committees, I can't remember the name of it that I said on today. I think it was 5-2, and it was about filters. It was my first or second time sitting in on this one. Today it got really juicy. So I don't know what the rules is, but I'm pretty sure I can talk about what we talked about, long as I don't take screenshots and share, which I didn't do. But this is fascinating. And they were basically saying, we should get the word out. How do we get the word out? That's kind of like what I heard a lot. And I'm thinking like, well, I'll get the word out.
Right.
No, but this is interesting. Have you ever heard of MERV A? Right.
No.
There's MERV and then there's MERV A. So this is a thing, right? And this is part of their method of test procedure, how they rank these filters. So apparently there is a MERV A ranking. And what MERV A means is it's a standard of test of how you measure a filter efficiency without the electrostatic charge playing a role, right? So like you have these filters, they're static charged, which makes them more efficient, but it doesn't last very long. Let's say it lasts a month. Don't quote me on that. I'm just speculating it's a month,
That's
right?
kind of what I was
Well-
asking John Ellis last time we had John on. I was like, how long does that last? That static. It's like a static cling.
It's going to depend on the filter, on the media that's in there. And it's
True.
also going to depend on, it can depend on so many things because velocity
Right.
of that air can regenerate that static charge. But if it gets covered with stuff, like John said, it's not going
Right.
to generate that static charge anymore.
Yep.
True. But all in all, from what I've learned in this meeting, which is slap full of the filter manufacturers of the world, right, who test all these filters, like no matter what, they all gradually degrade.
But you
Over
were done
time.
having kids, Jennifer.
But the electrostatic part fades pretty quickly. And they pretty much all agree. Like electrostatic charge is going to fade, and then the real life of a mechanical filter is left to do the work. So they kind of separated that, and they're kind of calling the A as actual. Like that is the actual efficiency of the filter without the electrostatic charge portion. So you've got MERV, which is the rating of the filter, and then you got MERV A, which is how the filter performs without electrostatic charge. And so the way they're kind of testing these filters, some of this I'm a little vague on. I tried to pick up what I could, but there's like specific amount of dust, right? And it's got 3 levels of particles in it. Don't quote me on this, but it's like 3 different sizes. There may be more to it than that, but there's small particles, a little bit bigger, and they rank them in like E1, E2, and E3 in sizes. Okay. And to get a MERV 13 rated filter, this is what I remember reading. You have to, in the E1 category, you have to get 50% of particles removed. In the E2 category, you got to get 85%. And in E3, you got to get 90%. And if you do that under the method of test, then you could classify that as a MERV 13 filter. So
I got a MERV 13, but it's got no accreditation whatsoever.
Well, this got really interesting. This was a fascinating meeting because one guy was in there and he was really saying that this committee should dig into filter effectiveness, right? There's filter efficiency, and then there's filter effectiveness. And there's a
What
little
the
bit
heck does that
difference
mean?
there. So like as the filters put in, right, you the flow may change, the filter, when they're testing a filter, I'm sure they're taping it up. I mean, perfection's happening, right? Because it's in a test tube and the dust. And then there's reality of how it's installed. And if you change the flow, from what I understand, the test lab kind of has maybe specific flow ranges. I don't know. But then there's a filter effectiveness, which is a system effect. Like how's it affecting the system? And I don't know. It got kind of loosey goosey in the meeting, and they basically kind of said, "Hey, this is not part of the method of test. This needs to be a subcommittee and maybe focused on and put somewhere else of methods of application." So his comments were, I would say, good, valid, but not for that committee. But he brought it up, but it may spark interest to fire up another committee where they do some research.
Yeah. I remember Jim Bergman was talking about velocity. The higher the velocity, it'll pull some of the particles through the filter, I think he was saying.
Oh yeah. Well, the what we like to call the Neil box, right? With the 4 filters. That got brought up in the meeting, and that's what the guy was basically saying. He's like, we have to look at system effectiveness. He's like, because we literally have a 4 filter box that can outperform a HEPA filter. He's like, we need to talk about this more. We need to dig into this more. So I look for there to be maybe more on that in the future. Ed Jonawalk's in that meeting and he follows it, so he may be someone to keep us up to speed on that.
I'm gonna start calling you Merv now. What's going on, Merv?
Merv.
What are you saying there, Merv?
Merv.
I worked for a guy named Merv Hughes for a while.
Hey, Merv.
Yeah. So that was an interesting meeting. Man, I don't know. I'll tell you one that's coming up tomorrow. Let me look at the name. Oh, this is juicy. Are you ready for this? I basically am super excited to go to this one. I think this is just like a TC, so it's like a working group. Hasn't become a full standard committee thing yet, from what I understand. And Will Speed's on this meeting. And it's called Space, Extraterrestrial, and Deep Space Environmental Control Systems. Yeah, dude. So, like, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to like space and astronomy. I like to read books on that, so that's going to be a fun meeting. I have no idea.
He's a Neil deGrasse Tyson fan, so
I am absolutely a Neil fan. I like his manner. I don't know what the word is, but how he delivers his messaging, even in a book or verbal, I dig it both ways. Like he delivers content well to my brain.
So this
he's
is like
funny when he was talking to Joe Rogan, dude.
Air conditioners in space, huh?
Well, me and Will were talking about it, and apparently it's like a subcommittee group that's kind of focused on how do you deal with what you have. You don't have outside air, you don't have fresh air, you have this air, right? And what are you going to do with it? And what can you do with it? Apparently there's a guy who works for Space Force who kind of chairs the committee. And so he's, probably a Steve Rogers super genius, right? And who's going to be like talking about deep science and where this is going to go. I don't know. Like, I hope it's as juicy as I think it's going to be in my mind.
Space Force.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. So who knows, man? I may be on the Space Force committee.
That's right. Steve Rogers is part of the Avengers too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Steve flies in today. I seen him in the chat. He ought to be. Yeah. I think he gets in at like midnight. So he's coming.
That's awesome.
I don't know if he's sitting on the space committee meeting. I should drag him in there because there's probably
Elon Musk
stuff that just goes over my head.
He wants to go to Mars, right? Elon Musk. So the cars, he's getting the heat pumps for the cars, the Tesla car. They're getting like MERV 13s like right off the bat. So
look at that.
There he is.
There he is.
One of the Avengers.
There he is. Avengers Unite.
Yeah. Unbelievable. What was it? Was the other guy's name?
I need my teammate. That way, when I don't know what's going on, I can go, Steve, what the hell did he just say?
Steve, give me the answers.
Steve, did you get that? You got that? All right, cool. We'll talk later.
Everybody's got cool names, you know.
Yeah.
Will Speed, Steve Rogers,
Yeah. Merv.
Merv.
Yeah. So that's
You got
some more info about like the governing
Merv
groups,
A and Merv B.
things like that. Because for those of you who don't know, that's my wife, and she's dealt with way more regulations than we've ever thought about in her job. So we just leave it at that.
Oh,
Wait.
bathroom break.
Where'd he go?
He went to the bathroom.
He
Or he's
must
going
have
to
go
jump in
check
the pool.
Probably had to go check the air pressure in his room again.
He had to jump in the pool. And we did drag him out.
What?
Bro,
Where'd you go, man? You
That was
left.
a quick dip, dude.
I'm freaking sweating over here. Like,
It's all that fresh air.
It's that,
probably so, man. Probably
that-
so.
that
Had to put
hot,
the air
humid,
conditioner
fresh air you're getting
Yeah.
in there.
Fresh steam. That Tampa
I know, man.
sweat.
Yeah, me and I'm here with Ed Jonawak, man, and Jed. I don't think Ed wants to leave the hotel. I'm like, Ed, man, there's a really cool sports bar. We can watch the game. He's like, nah, I can't do it. He's like, it's too hot outside. It's like walking on the face of the sun. He's like, not for me, bro. I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, we'll put you in efficiency mode. You can walk slow. You know?
Come on, Ed. Let's go to Chili's. Come on.
Yeah, you can do it, bro.
Come
It's
on,
been a whole lot
Ed.
of it's been a whole lot of encouraging Ed to make the walks.
Come on, Ed. Go to Chili's tonight. Let's go.
That's right. So that's what I got, man. Maybe I'll have some juicy stuff for next week after tomorrow's meeting. Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds like some cool stuff over there, man.
It is, man. You gotta, I mean, it's a different flavor, no doubt. There's a lot of professionalism in it. There's absolutely that going on. But if you can kind of, for me, going to this stuff, it kind of, like I haven't been one to go to kind of stuff where stuff is very stiff. You know what I mean? Like, dress good, do the whole thing.
I gotta wear my pinstripe suit.
If you can get past the stiffness that comes with professionalism, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty informational, and it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, hopefully they'll bring up the standard for my Merv 13.
Any fist fights in 62-2. Oh man, so Steve, good point. So let's talk about 62-2. So I think.
Wait a minute. Back up. Before you go to 6, what is 62-2 for those in here that don't know what 62-2 is?
I should read the standard title, but I don't have it in front of me. But it is basically the standard that deals with IAQ for residential and multifamily. And I think it's multifamily 3 stories and under, not like super high-rise buildings, because that's considered commercial. So like residential style multifamily, single home dwelling IAQ, right?
Yeah. So it's ventilation. The
fresh air
official
ventilation,
title is
right?
ventilation and acceptable indoor air quality in residential buildings.
Right. And boy, let me tell you what, there is a lot of smart people that sit on that panel, and it gets hot.
Oh, really? So Steve wasn't joking.
Yeah. It's no joke, bro. Like, I think it's been the reputation of the committee is there's a lot of fire in that chat.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah.
Well,
And,
dude, that's one of the things. Like, there is so much going on in the residential ventilation space right now. Like, it is, to me, it's really still a developing market or a developing piece of what we're doing out here. And I think that committee has a lot of work to do, honestly.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude.
It absolutely does.
Bringing in
And
way too much fresh air. And I love fresh air.
I won't name drop, but I know some people. I know a few people on that committee. I said in that one, I think that was the day before yesterday. And, so what I will tell you is one thing that got brought up that may become a working group they're going to talk about is maybe setting some type of standard, or they may add to the standard about putting the minimum required dew point in the house
Ooh.
all year long as like a requirement to reach 62.2 standard.
Minimum or maximum?
I'm sorry, maximum dew point.
Okay.
Because there's there could be instances, from what I understand, where people say run a blower door on their house and they follow all the 62.2 requirements, but there's a chance like they still get mold. And so it's maybe to a point where, and I don't think this is everywhere, but it's definitely ran rapid in a few areas. And so,
especially in high humidity environments where you have year-round or most
why
of
aren't we
year-round
bringing fresh air through like an air quality sensor, like a CO2 or VOC? Why are we just dumping?
I don't know. But
well,
62.3. Let's go. Come on now.
well, there you go, man. You just got to join, Michael. And
I think that would be 62.2.1.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just gonna skip a bunch of numbers. I'll be there in 3 hours, bro. Let's go.
I mean,
I'll kick in there like the Kool-Aid guy. Just boom, bust that door down.
looking at the standard. I mean, part of what they've done is try to do things well, but also be cost conscious at the same time, because a lot of homeowners and builders, especially, are very, very cost conscious in a lot of this stuff.
Well, this is just to give you an idea how heated this gets. So you've got some people in the committee who understand where this is going to drive the market, right? So let's think about this. If you're saying that you're setting a tolerance for dew point on the indoors of a house year round, might add, you're basically telling people they probably got to have a whole house dehumidifier installed, or something similar to handle that dew point.
I hate to say it, but I'm all for this.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just telling you there's money conscious people on the board who get where that's heading, and they're definitely going to push back, because here's the thing. You do this could take a year and a half's worth of work, right? And you build this whole standard out, and then the whole time it just gets pushed back, and nothing ever happens. And so those people who maybe have experienced
Clark Kent. Okay, that's what I thought.
So,
or Merv C. I don't know.
So,
what's up, Bill?
All of that being said, they maybe are thinking, if we do all this work for nothing, or maybe they have they're not, when you're on these committees, you're not supposed to like drive self-interest, but I could see how the lines could get a little blurred between self-interest and what the standard says, right? So, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, $5,000, I'll try to pass anything. So
let's say you're I don't know. I'm just trying to set up a case scenario. Help me out here, Eric.
Like if a politician, you're on a take,
Let's say somebody's, all they have in their product line is single stage equipment. And let's say, multi-stage variable speed equipment starts to just mandate electric reheat, for example, and that just becomes the new normal. Let's just say that happens. Well, if this standard does push this standard through about humidity control,
you're out of business.
Basically, you're kind of going to be out of business on big projects where 62.2 plays a role in maybe the Energy Star standard and all that, right? And so that person may be like, financially, we're going to drive the price up on jobs, and as well, I'm going to go out of business, right? I could see that side of it where it's like blurring the lines between personal protection of his livelihood, but as well seeing from a cost perspective for all the contractors of the world, the GCs who hire the HVAC team, saying, man, are we really going to drive up the market for that level of expense? There's an argument to be made there.
So if I was like Fubot, can I pay a guy to go to this conference and just talk? Like 62.2 guys, or is it like you gotta?
Dude, it's anybody. You could just
that's how it goes then.
The room's literally got 20 or so, I guess, voting members who sit at the table, and then there's behind the table there's just chairs that line the room, and there was probably 45 people in the room total. It was,
and I say Fubot because they went out of business, So
well, obviously that and the filter. I mean, so the hot topic I would say that's going down right now, what I've been keyed in on, is ASHRAE just released a standard, and literally because the White House asked ASHRAE to handle up, And ASHRAE basically said, sure, we'll knock it out. So they did like the most expedited standard you've ever seen, from what I understand, ASHRAE, and knocked it out in like 100
Did it
something
have
days.
to do something about laptops or something?
No, it was
Laptop protection?
ASHRAE approves groundbreaking standard to reduce the risk of disease transmission in indoor spaces.
Oh,
So, yeah, because of COVID and all that. So basically, when COVID hit, they were like, how are we going to deal with this? And so they asked ASHRAE to basically deliver a standard. Like, what can we do to protect businesses? Like, what do they got to do to reach a minimum to deal with this if it happens again, so we don't have to send everybody home?
right.
Now don't quote me, right? I'm just a guy who is very new to this, but I think that's what that standard's geared toward. But there's a whole lot of overlap. So here's the big issue, and there's a whole lot of discussion going on right now. There's that standard, which I think was 241, and it has standards that kind of overlap with 62.1 and 62.2 and 552.3, which is the
Wow.
filter committee. So they've got
So it
all
sounds
these,
like a WWF, like
Well-
chairs getting thrown.
you've got these people who are going from meeting to meeting, right? You've got this committee, this standard, and people from this standard, and they're sitting in each other's
Wow.
standard meeting saying, hey, this is what we're saying, this is what you're saying. And then to add a level of complexity to that, you've now also got the mechanical code, right? And all these other affiliations who are trying to also sync
wow.
their standards with all of that. So, I mean, it is
That's crazy.
it's
I
a-
wouldn't allow any Italians in there, bro, because we yell. We're a bunch of yellers.
yeah.
So this is something I wanted to point out right here on the screen. What Steve Rogers just pointed out, and I was actually going to ask Chris about this. You don't need to join ASHRAE to go comment at these meetings. You can just
No.
show up. I think do you have to sign up for the convention?
I used to
Or
do
can
that
you
with
just walk
weddings,
in?
you know?
I mean, I think you could. So,
You probably need to register or something, right?
yeah, honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on that
You just
part.
got to
I
look
don't know.
good, man. Just got to dress nice,
Yeah.
walk right in,
Yeah,
tip
you
the guy
gotta
at the
have a
front.
suit. You gotta have a really nice suit, right?
Yeah,
So like
20 bucks
everybody
gets you in.
assumes that you're some super high level engineer, and then you walk in, and then when they say new business, you just need to stand up and say, right, new
Yeah.
business, and they're gonna look at you and say, this guy is somebody who's definitely got something to say that's gonna be good, and you give it to him.
There's the answer right there. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that.
I'm telling
No
you,
sign
man.
up required. Just show up.
Yeah, just show up. Yep.
Yeah, my buddy, he rented a Corvette in Miami. We went down there for 2 days. And then people were taking pictures of like we were famous or something. I was like, take a picture, right? I'm nobody. You got to rent a Corvette in Tampa, go down to the meeting, you get right in.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
That's it. That's it.
Just rent a Corvette, pull up in front of the hotel, and you are somebody. As long as you get out in a nice suit, apparently.
That's
Yeah,
right.
man. I mean, it would be cool if we were closer to the beach. I would say that. So if I could write a memo, maybe I could say we should pick hotels that are a little closer to the beach, because it would have been really cool to go to the beach. You know what I'm saying? But I'm 45 minutes away.
Dude, you
You
guys
know?
should have it on the East Coast. We got the with a casino that's shaped like a guitar.
All right. So
my buddy just went there.
there's the straight from Steve. You can be a voting member, a chair of a committee without joining ASHRAE. So there's no excuse not to get
Yeah.
out there and get your voice heard.
Got to have it at the Hard
Look.
Rock next year. Yeah,
Jennifer says she's crashing an ASHRAE meeting. I think you should.
let's
Jennifer.
do it.
You crash it. I'll be here. We will go in. You pick the meeting, and I'll go in there with you because I want to see that.
I want to wear a top hat or dress like I don't know.
Bill's
Man,
going to
that's-
walk in and crash an ASHRAE meeting
Let's
too.
do it, Bill.
So here's what I'll say. You know, how many of you guys in the chat and here are going to HR? All right.
Oh, wait a
And
minute.
then-
I'm not in the chat.
well, yeah, but I said in here too. So you're going. I know you're going to HR.
Darn right,
So-
I'm going to HR.
So here's what I'm going to say. The meeting, ASHRAE's winter meetings always take place with HR. So if you're going to HR, which is really awesome, like if you've never been, you got to go. You got to go at least once.
Where's it coming this year?
It's the Super
Chicago.
Bowl of events for air conditioning. And
Chicago.
if you want to see
Chicago.
what's coming out new in the industry, you got to go to HR, because that's where they're exposing new product, right? And
Gotcha.
all the big dogs show up and they, pay $50,000 plus. That's probably the lowest booth expense to showcase what they're going to do for the year, right? or next generation. Pretty cool stuff.
Just
But
hold
if
on to
you-
your patents, kids.
That's right. But if
The
you go to
Chinese are
HR
there.
and you're doing that, I would definitely say go try to get exposed to ASHRAE because it's going on at the same time. Usually it's at the hotel that's neighboring it or whatever. That's where all the meetings are scattered. There's an app. You got to follow it, that whole thing.
Well, normally, so correct me if I'm wrong here. Normally, don't the ASHRAE meetings start like 2 or 3 days before the actual AHR show so
Yeah.
that you can cross back over between the two of them?
Right. From what I do know, because I've been to about 3 of these, and I would say 62.2 typically meets early. They usually meet 2 days before like AHR kicks off, and ASHRAE convention actually fully really opens its doors as like we're officially conducting this meeting, right?
So they got to meet for 2 days just to get all the comments in, or what?
I think it's just I don't know, but what I'm assuming is that they know they're going to have a lot to talk about, so they just block the time out. That way they got it, and if they finish early, they finish early, but I've never seen it finish early. Usually there's always lingering stuff that needs to be done, and it gets to a point where they say, hey, we got to close this out. Like, we have to stop somewhere, we're done.
Yeah.
I think where a lot of the work gets done is in the subcommittees and the working groups. The committee meetings are basically the check and balance to say, let's bring all the work we've done between the big meetings and let's decide on what we're going to yay or nay based on the research we've done between the 6 months of the meetings. That's kind of the way I see it being played out. I would say networking is a huge valued point to go in, right? Because if you decide to join a meeting that's discovering something, you're probably going to get to network with the forefront of the industry who is maybe doing like research in laboratories that are worth millions of bucks, right? And you're going to get to talk to maybe the engineering team that's behind the filter research or behind the method of test for duct leakage or something like to that nature. You're going to get to talk to the guys who are working for super big companies who have, just everything you could ever want to their disposal. Right. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good
That's
stuff.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to change my first name to Trey and then go work for ASHRAE.
You got to come up this year, Mike.
Yeah, you should make it, man. You got to figure it out.
Everybody telling me, it's like you said, it's like the Super Bowl. It's pretty crazy.
Dude, I mean, so just the AHR show alone, if you've never been to that, it is the size of it. It's a 3-day show, and you will spend all 3 days. If you want to see the whole show, like you can spend all 3 days just walking up and down aisles and still not see everything.
Man, it's like Comic-Con for like AC guys.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, and the booths get wild, man. I mean, there's like Daikin usually rents out, like 20 booth spots, and like I've seen Carrier come in with like 20 booth spots and put like literally water cooled centrifugal chillers, not maybe like more than one, maybe like 2 or 3, right? And it's like, whoa.
Some of them have 2-story booths, where like there's a second floor, so you can walk up to the second floor if they have special meetings and stuff. It gets
I picture Daikin doing shots of sake or something.
Oh, so
Japanese guys.
Here's what I'll tell you about AHR. And this is important. Right? You remember how like the deal with SoCo I have going on with the products and that whole thing, that all spiraled out of AHR. That AHR is where deals get made, no doubt. Like
what was that product again, Chris?
The nitrogen purge boot.
And if you would forgot all about it.
If you would like to get it, you should go to True Tech Tools where Eric is and make that purchase.
I'm over here, not over there. I'm over here.
My screen's showing me here. So
man.
So get over there and buy it so I can get my 5 cents and keep paying for this internet.
Come on, throw him a nickel, baby.
Throw me that nickel. No, it's truthfully, those companies like I would say Subco and maybe I don't know if Rector Seal does it. Is it Rector Seal? Who's the other one that plays the game?
I think Diversitech has a some kind of a program.
Yeah. So here's what I'd say. If you want to potentially expedite the process with your product, and you want to get it into the right guy's hands, you need to go to HR, because you
Mhm.
better believe it. The guy who makes those deals, he's gonna be at HR.
Yeah.
It is
I
like
called the guy up. I was like, dude, put mastic in a caulk gun. Then I saw
Yeah.
it at Home Depot like a year later.
Yeah, you should have went for it, bro. But
Damn.
those deals happen at HR. They are literally waiting for people to kind of arrive and bring those deals to the table. They're there for that, right? Now, everybody's there for a specific mission, but I'm saying you want to be heard because you got a product idea, that's the place to do it.
It's a good place to go. I mean,
Yeah.
and you get to see all kinds of new products, new tools. A lot of times that's where companies will do their new product launches, like with big products. So you can see them for the first time there. It's an amazing show. And I'm with you, Chris. I have made so many good contacts there over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I've been going, I want to say I started going in like 2006 or 7.
And I'll tell you something that they've added the last couple of years that's really cool. The podcast booths, right?
Yeah.
So like I know Brian Orr does a lot of podcasts there. Eric, you've done a lot of podcasts there. Chris Stevens, I thought I see him in there, but he usually does a lot of podcasts while he's there.
Yeah, there's pretty much any of your major podcasts. I think
we should
there.
probably be doing that there. That Eric, Michael, that's kind of why you need to go, man, because we should probably be hosting the show there.
Maybe.
That'd be cool, man. That'd be cool. I'm waiting for that check to clear.
Chris and I are both working while we're there, so
yeah, it'd be all right. We could squeeze it. We could parcel out the time. We'll make it happen.
I don't think HVAC School is going to have a booth there this year, because normally they've been having a booth, but I don't think they're going to have one there. Oh, nice, Bill. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm liking to hear right there.
There's a bunch of podcasts that are there, and they set up podcast booths so you can meet a lot of the podcasters and go say hi to them. And I mean, like, you can see a lot of new tools there. If you want to walk in and get your hands on literally every Vito bag ever made, they probably have them there at their booth, because they've got a huge booth.
Oh,
yeah, I've
those little Gucci bags.
That's right.
I've got to hear the whole story from the Vito Pack, owner. Like he was a super cool, down to earth guy, man. He gave me and a couple other guys the whole spiel of the startup of the company, and it's like,
That's
man,
cool.
just to hear those stories, they're like, man, that's pretty awesome. Like,
Yeah,
I'm glad I got to hear that. But Milwaukee usually does a pretty legit booth too.
Milwaukee does. Hillmore does a huge booth, because they're in with Diversitech.
Yeah, they got bought out.
Klein's got a big booth. I mean, Carhartt's even there. They've got a big booth, and there's even sections where they've got vans and stuff in there. So if like you want to step
Adrian
up into vans and things like that, and check out the inside of new work vans, I think Ford, Chevy, and Dodge have normally got stuff there.
That's cool.
Yeah, like you're like Adrian Steele's one of the names of that provides that stuff. They'll be there, I'm sure. They usually rig out a van or two and show it off on the showroom floor. So I don't know.
There's all kinds of software. There's whole software sections. There's commercial control sections. Like I said, you can walk in there for days.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If you are a super nerd in HVAC and it's your first time going, you will not see everything.
Yeah.
You just won't.
That's crazy.
You could go for 3 days.
Dude, I can't believe I missed the one in Orlando.
Oh yeah. That was probably my favorite one so far, because that's the one where I first seen the motor windings molded into the PCB board, right? Have you seen that yet?
The one, essentially it's a
circuit board.
It's a pancake motor.
Yeah, with windings basically baked into it. So it's like motor windings literally are like right up there with like a sheet of paper, right?
Yeah.
Wow. They don't weigh anything. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I seen that at the first time in Orlando, and I think it won a big award that year. But that was pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Well, I hear a pool calling my name because, it's dark outside, but I think I'm doing it.
A pool calling your name?
Yeah, swimming pool calling my name. It closes at 10.
Tell Aka and I said hello, man.
I will do. All right, boys.
As you can tell, I'm a big fan.
Peace.